Whenever she is in use of the flower, y'all, it is times.
I'm not even home,
10. Bro. I could be like, "Can you pass me the keys?" And she like, "Hurry up!" I'm like, I'm talking normal, like.
True story. One time we was over at Eric and Sharon's house. Each other, we talking. Joe was in the kitchen, but I had an edible. To me, Joe is so loud. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I'm talking like this.
Sharon gonna say, I said he is so loud. She was like, no, honey. He's
like, no, you're tripping right now.
We start cracking up. All right. Welcome back to our channel. Thank you so much for joining us. I know we've been on hiatus for a couple weeks, but we had to get baby home. How was tour, Joe?
Terrible. That's not even.
No, don't say it like that. Joe loves touring, but this was just
the hardest tour I've ever had to do. So we can. There's so many things that I can talk about. With this last tour, and I would hate to even take up your time about it.
I can't.
But I will say that this was easily the hardest tour that I've ever had to do. To give a little bit of background, one, I think it was the routing was, it didn't make any sense, and she even noticed that. She's just like, "What's happening with this routing?" So one, the routing was terrible. It was a long tour with mostly back-to-back dates.
Yeah, like not a lot of days off.
Very little breaks, very little days off. And the days off that we had, most of them were drive days, which means
not a day off.
You wake up you leave the hotel at 9 in the morning or 10 in the morning, and you drive all day to your next location. Accommodation. I mean, it just was like the hardest, there was also new players, meaning not actual like new band members, but just like new management. Our old tour manager wasn't there, and so we had to get adjusted to that and their style, and there were some hiccups there. And I'm very happy to be home. I'll just say that. Very happy.
Well, I'm glad
I'm always happy to get home, but
abnormally so?
Yes.
I think I was feeling that. Like, maybe I wanted you to be home. Like, part of me always wants you to be home. But this ain't my first tour with Joe. We've been doing this for quite some time. And like Joe, for all intents and purposes, when he travels, it's about maybe 5 or 6 months out the year. He's probably on the road. So, I'm used to it, but I do feel, and it might have been you wanting to be home and me wanting you to be comfortable. I felt like I wanted you around way more than how I normally feel.
Yeah.
Way more. And I don't know if that means I like you more, or I don't know what that means.
I don't know. I think it was a lot of different stuff. I think one, we talk about like we moved, for the people who don't know, and we both just really love our new like living situation.
Yeah, our new home is really nice.
Our new city, our new home, our new neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part.
It's nice for us.
Yeah.
For me and you.
Yeah.
And it feels like us.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, very much so.
Even though I wish you would paint my beauty room.
I mean, I'm down. We would literally need like a team of people to come and clear out that room now. It's literally the most packed room in the house.
Yo, I have so much clothes. I really need to start a consignment shop, because I will really buy things and don't wear it.
Also, like so many beauty products that she probably doesn't even know she has. We tried to start putting some of them up. Go to her Amazon store. Go to the Amazon link. It's in the
description.
Thing, right? It's in the description. It's half of that stuff is just like a bunch of stuff that's just sitting in the room that she's used or maybe bought because she wanted, or just somebody gave her. It's just a bunch of shit that we don't need in that room. Yeah, so there's that part.
Yeah, but I would love it. But yeah, so we're back and we're here to talk Married at First Sight. So we said all that. If you do not know, I'm into Zar, but you can call me Zar. This is my beautiful husband, Joe. And we're talking Married at First Sight season episode
15, right?
Season 15 episode. I don't know what the hell episode we on, but I know that I am, and I'm trying to, I was watching this today and I thought, I was so agitated by the episode, right? Because we're just going to jump into the most recent one that we didn't talk about. Yeah. I was so agitated. And then I was like, try to find a silver lining here. So my silver lining is Lindy and Miguel and how they speak to each other, how they interact with each other. It really was a good episode for, I feel like, Lindy and Miguel and Sasha and Nate. For very different reasons. Lindy, I feel like she's coming into herself. Like, we are seeing her. Like, it's so funny how you change in your life and you overcome one hurdle and then you think you got it figured out. Yeah. Only to be met with relationship or whatever, and that requires you to grow in a different way. And I think that watching Lindy and Miguel navigate that and her having a supportive spouse, and you could tell he's smitten. Like, isn't me? But I love Lindy, and I could tell he loves her too.
Yeah, me too. I think he is kind of like, you can see the attraction growing on him, but you could also see him gravitating towards her personality a lot more. You know,
yes.
You could just tell that, like, they have a good time when they're not on camera. Like, people, it's funny. People come up to us like strangers. And we've literally had somebody say, like, y'all look like a fun couple. And somebody we just met.
That is so true.
They were just watching us across the room. And I think that is a result of two people who have a good time by themselves. And I think so in my mind, when I'm watching, Lindy
and Miguel,
I'm thinking, okay, this is what people like see. Like, oh, they look like they have a good time by themselves when they just kicking it. You know what I mean?
I agree 1,000%. Even the way she they sit down with Dr. Pepper, and I want to be clear. I want to preface this entire thing with saying, whether or not Dr. Pepper was there or not this week, I don't feel like it added any value.
It didn't.
And I think that there were really big issues that needed to be
addressed
this week, and I kind of feel like they felt. It fell terribly short.
Yeah. And
not that, so I'm saying that, period. Now, Lindy and Miguel sit down with Dr. Pepper and, we got some good conversation. I just didn't think it added value.
Yeah.
But she was talking about how she has these expectations, like she doesn't know how to be a wife. She's trying really hard. So she still gets defensive when she's told certain things. And when I tell you that is so real, how you could be like I want to get it right. And then you would take what somebody is saying as more of a critique of you, as opposed to, I'm just trying to tell you.
And you know what? That's a natural thing I think that we all deal with. And I think it really springs from the part of wanting to get it right. You are, and I think if you play sports, like this is another arena that it can hit home in, right? Where you come off the court or you come off the field, whether you play tennis or volleyball or basketball or whatever, and your coach is chewing you out. You might know for a fact that everything that coach is saying is right. But the reason why it might piss you off is because you was just trying really hard out there, right? Mm-hmm. So you're naturally defensive because of the fact that you are literally giving all of your effort, and someone is correcting you, and the human in you can't help but to be like, "Fuck you," because you're like, I'm trying hard, even though we're human and we mess up, and with this criticism was warranted because if you did X, Y, and Z a different way, you would have seen a different result. And I think the same thing happens in marriage and in different areas in life where you want to get it right, but you still have a little pushback when you first are initially told something, because you're like, I'm annoyed because I'm trying, and it almost feels like I'm not trying, or in this moment, my try isn't being acknowledged. even though this might not be the moment for that. You know,
or you feel that way, but your spouse doesn't.
Right.
Because I know we went through that, like where I at least I felt like I would say something and Joe would feel critiqued, where I was just saying, you know,
just talking.
And for all intents and purposes, I'm a severe micromanager, so it's not beneath me to have those kind of conversations. But I feel like sometimes the moments when I'm not, I'm just like saying stuff. It just should be that, like, you know what I mean? Like they were talking about her example was like cooking the spinach, waiting to put the spinach in when you're cooking onions, and because that cooks fast. We've actually quite literally have had the same conversation. Yeah. Like the same exact one. Like, I don't think you should do that. I think you should wait. And I also understand her. Like, I'm trying to do something for you as a sign and symbol of my affection, and it feels like you're critical of that. But for him to tell her, like, you're doing a great job as a wife, I thought that was sweet.
Yeah.
I thought that was sweet, and I think people need to hear that. People need to know. You know what I mean? Like, I know it might not seem like we in a greater space, but we do, like, you're still a good spouse to me. Or like maybe, you know, the outside world is affecting us. But I thought it was really, really cute. So they go on to Miguel gives her a little bit more information about where he's from, being Puerto Rico. They read their letters to each other. How do you feel about the exercise of you writing a letter to your child?
I think in this space of Married at First Sight, I just can think of so many other things that they could be doing when they do this every year. I don't think that it's like, I think it's a TV thing, a production thing. I think they get cute moments out of it production wise and TV wise, but I think there's so many more things that they could be doing. I mean, before we got married, we went through a couple of weeks of counseling. Yeah. We talked to even different counselors. None of them sat us down and said, now write a letter to yourself or to each other from the 18-year-old version. Like, to me, it's just like, yo, these people are having real issues. Yeah. Like very real issues. And their issues are almost augmented because of the fact that they don't really know each other. And they're being almost like 10 times the regular normal marriage, because one, they don't really know each other, and two,
they don't know how to be married either.
Not only that, but two, they're being filmed. Right. So imagine going through what we went through, but then we going through it on national television.
Ain't no way.
You know what I mean? No, so so writing a letter to myself and this taking up a whole episode, to me, it's just like, there need to be so much more exercises implemented, more construction, more things that peel back the layers of the person.
It's just not deep enough. It's very surface. It's very surface. I mean, but one of the things that I like that Dr. Pepper said in the small amount of nuggets that she gave us this episode was, what did she say? She said, sometimes you'll find that you'll tell your spouse you love them, and then 10 years later you look up and think, it looks so much, it looks different now. Like love. And when I tell you, me and Joe been rocking for almost 20 years, going closer to 20 years than we are 10, right? So in every year I love him differently, I feel like. But not in a bad way. Like I feel like it evolves. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that, you know, you look back, I was telling him the other day, I'm like, I could have never imagined loving you like I love you today, but I know I loved you so deep. Then I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I told her I had a friend of mine's, a really good older friend of mine's, who I love him and his wife and their marriage, and how transparent he is about their situation every time we talk. And he told me before we got married, he told me your love for her, even specifically your attraction to her, will grow. And both of them, your love and attraction to her, will grow differently, and it'll grow as she grows. So it'll look different. Literally, like the aspect of your love in general will look different and feel different. You being attracted to her physically will look different and feel different, but it'll grow and it'll constantly evolve, and you will love her and feel things for her that you never realized was possible. Because right now you might feel like, especially before you get married, you might feel like this is the height, this is it, you know.
Yeah.
And I to your point, I realize that, and I feel that every day, every year, every month that goes by, I feel exactly what he meant. And I think some of the married people out there can attest to that. Like, it just will change, you know what I mean? And it's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just different. It's hard to describe, but it's just different.
It is hard to describe. Yeah. But at the end of that, all of that, Miguel tells Lindy I keep wanting to call him Mindy, but Miguel.
Yeah, you called her Mindy the other day. And I'm thinking, Mindy, who is this?
Oh, Miguel, Miguel tells Lindy he loves her, and I thought it was appropriate. I thought after hearing that, you really do get like a sense of. I don't think it's a time limit on how long it takes for you to be in love with somebody or to love somebody, and I think that you should express that life happens. You want people to know how you feel about them, kind of thing. And I think that maybe Dr. Pepper saying what she said kind of helped that along. Like, look, love is going to be this today and tomorrow's going to be that. Yeah. And they are both right. They're both right. Love. You know what I mean? So that was really, really cool to see. It's been really exciting watching Lindy and Miguel kind of fall in love, and just her cute little smile. She's just so affable. I just like her.
She is.
She's easy, but she's dynamic.
Yes.
And layered.
Yeah.
But yet so easy.
But she's very likable.
Yes.
Like she was initially very likable, but we all kind of, a lot of people, I should say, view her the same way, of like this kind of bubbly, kind of airy person. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then as the show went on, you started to see the layers of her and how she was actually very emotionally mature and a lot more. And she's done a lot of emotional work. Yes, and it was all coming out, but still keeping that very laughable, a likable, kind of lovable aura about her. So I think that's the cool part about it. And then seeing them together, they're more likable as a couple. 1,000%. Miguel is, not to say that Miguel was ever like obnoxious, but you can see how she has softened whatever the exterior was. But I'm gonna, he had a wall up, and I'm gonna attribute that to fear. Mm-hmm. This is new, and I get it. I absolutely positively get it. So let's dig into Sasha and Nate. Nate right now for me is my favorite person on this season. For so many reasons. I really, he a Pisces, so I think I have I really do love Pisces. I was about to say he my favorite for keeping it real reasons, and that's why my new nickname for him is going to be Nate Dogg, because of the way he was really gully about a lot of the thing, whether it was in the after party or whether it was in the scene, the very early on in the episode where they was in the living room and what's her name? Well, the girls were in one at Krysten's house, and the guys were when they came in the room with the guys. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The guys were at Nate's house. Morgan, yeah. And Morgan comes in the room. She says her spiel, and Nate said, like, what's the hostility? Like, he said it like he was like a California dude. Like he said it like his feet was spread. You know what I mean? Like in the V shape, like one of the LA gangsters. Like what's the like he was doing this when he said it. Like what's the hostility about? Like it was very gangster. So but not in a aggressive way. Not in an aggressive way at all. But I've seen some very like non-aggressive gangsters in my life. Especially my daddy is a non-aggressive. Exactly. Especially in LA. Like so. But I like. But okay, so let's talk about that. So we jumping all over the place and we don't care. But they are having a conversation. I want to start this off by saying, and I'm going to stand by this because sometimes I find myself flip-flopping when I go back and watch this. It's two people I do not see it for because I genuinely think that they got drama in their heart and I don't like it. And that's Alexis and that's Morgan. The idea, because we didn't really touch on this because we didn't have the opportunity to because we didn't film, but the idea that my husband could have a conversation with any of his friends and
whether he on speaker or not. Because I seen y'all trying to caveat it like, well, he was on speaker. It's he in his goddamn house.
Yeah.
He should be allowed to do any of that. Like the idea that he can't be around his wife and have certain uncomfortable conversations with somebody without her going back says so much about her because misery loves company. It ain't a bitch alive who is married, a man alive who is married, or in a long-term relationship. I don't even want to reduce it to marriage. When you locked in with somebody, whether it's a best friend, girlfriend, we got best friends that come to us and tell us shit that we won't repeat to nobody else. Yeah. So the idea that you in the house with this man and you thought, well, she needed to know. I thought I had a moral obligation. The only moral obligation you have is to yourself and minding your own goddamn business. But see, that's the reason why your shit ain't thriving, because you're so worried about their shit. Yeah. Oh well, he coming to Justin and talking to Justin. He need to be going to Morgan. Okay. Did you tell Justin that? Because the only thing I don't even know if I would have said that. But me and my husband are best friends, so it's already noted that if you tell Joe something, I'm gonna know.
But it's not even about facts.
But I'm not gonna repeat.
But it's also not even about. This is not even a Joe Zar thing. I feel that way about any married couple that I know. Anything I say to one of them, I automatically assume that the other one will eventually know. Yeah, I automatically assume that because there's no covenant like a marriage covenant, right? So I automatically assume that. But especially with the couples and the individuals, I should say, because it doesn't even have to be a couple thing. I could only be close to one of them. The people that I allow in my space, I never am afraid that spouse is going to go say something to somebody. Like I never feel like I can't say something to my man because he's going to tell his wife and his wife is going to run her mouth. Yeah, I never feel like that. Not with the people. If I felt that way about you, you wouldn't be around and I wouldn't be speaking to you about anything intimate, right? So the messed up thing is, because I think most couples are that way. Most couples that have good relationship, they talking to each other.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Because you know enough about each other that the only thing you can talk about is other motherfuckers. So it's like, literally, like we know enough about each other. I can't wait till Joe is ready to spill some tea. I'll be like, what happened? Hurry up, call me. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So you can't, and there's no way that you can assume that you could just talk to one person and they would never speak to their spouse about it. So for me, it wasn't about him being on speakerphone or being on a phone around his wife. That's his wife. This is silly. Right. That's a really idiotic idea to say that you got to be careful about speaking about your friend's business.
And it's a red flag. Like
it's a red flag.
We talk about red flags and stuff like that, and I try not to I always say I hate when people do that because red flags can turn into pink ones and turn into yellow, and then you don't have a flag anymore. That is an actual red flag. Yeah. Like the idea that I am not comfortable in my home. I can't even have moments with you. We supposed to be able to have small conversations about other people and stuff like that. Or not even, or I'm supposed to be able to talk to this man, come back and tell you, you know what such and such said, and it stay here. Yeah. We talking about trust. The person that was betrayed was Justin.
Right.
He should be using the word betrayal.
Right.
I find this whole situation so jacked up, and to see the disintegration of something before it even began at the hands of somebody else. Yeah, it's terrible to me. He would have, and my thing is this: it ain't nothing he could say that I would feel like warranted the way Morgan is treating him.
No more.
I mean, nothing.
Which just goes to what you said about them having drama in their heart or whatever, however you put it. Like, because that's what I feel with this situation with Morgan. Like, I genuinely feel like you just want to play victim. Like, you just want to have your Karen.
Yes, Karen comes in all shades.
Karen comes in all shades. You want to be a Karen. You want to play victim. And which is why this whole thing has now shifted from the context of what he said to the fact that he even spoke to Justin at all. And that's where that's where her bread is buttered in this whole argument. It's all about, well, you lied to me because you told me that you weren't going to speak to Justin.
I was telling Joe about the word lie. Like, if I'm saying the word liar, I'm meaning it to be insulting. And I grew up, and my godmom used to say, we would say something and it probably wasn't the truth. And she would be like, why are you telling a story? You know what I mean? Because to call somebody a liar is such a weighted thing. So for you to be like, well, you lied. I am looking at the spectrum of what a marriage is and how you go through all these different iterations, all these small issues, big issues, whatever. You can't deal with this. Yeah. You can never deal with like what is really to come in a marriage. Like the idea that the man can't speak to anybody.
His male friend who is
going through the same thing as him.
I was just about to say, who is one of a handful of people in the world that is actually going through what he's going through right now.
Imagine that. Do y'all even hear what y'all saying? And then for us to turn, I just feel like, and what I don't like, and inversely, I didn't like them ambushing the guys.
That was weak.
I didn't like it.
That was weak.
I didn't like how excited they were to do it.
And it was just
y'all are weird.
This whole thing, it was everybody in the room is just getting up and affirming Morgan's bullshit. And then they get up and they clap and they do this whole thing for a long period of time. It was trending on Twitter, this term of toxic masculinity, right? If toxic masculinity is a thing, that had to be toxic femininity or whatever you want to call it, because it was bothersome how Morgan sat in the room and told a room full of women.
It was manipulative,
which is weird because every woman that I seen on Twitter was chewing Morgan out.
Every single one.
I mean, any comment that I posted, anything that I tweeted, it was responded to by like just airing her out. Right?
I agree.
So she sits in a room full of women who literally just let her spew this bullshit about her husband being a demon because he spoke to his friend about the things that are happening in his life, because no one does that on earth. It's such a violation. It's such a betrayal, to use her word. So
big words.
For her to sit in the room, say all of these things to these other married women, and for no one to hold her feet to the fire and say, sis.
Because they aren't actually married women. They're dating. They're people who are dating who just so happen to have had signed a piece of paper. The reality is, like, you go through so many iterations. You are a wife before you become one, right? And I hate that. As much as I hate that kind of like thing, the reality is you're making certain decisions, you're doing certain things before you even become a wife. Your mindset is already there because we all go through the traditional trajectory, right? You're like a girlfriend, a fiance, and then you're a wife. So everybody's going through that traditional trajectory. So you're already making decisions based on your spouse, your husband, how you want them to feel. These bitches don't even know what that mean. I would have sat in that room and be like, bitch, you look so stupid. Yeah. First of all, betrayal. The fact that nobody pushed back on that word, like words mean things, y'all. You have to characterize things appropriately, especially when you marry, because you'll find that when you do that, you're giving more credence to small issues. Neil, the issue is the person. When you say betrayed, do you know what I mean? Imagine this
man.
He's
a liar. He betrayed you.
Those are big words.
And labels. You're labeling this man that you've only known for a month and some change. You're labeling him all of these things.
But let's get back to the group, because I really want to go in on this. I'm so done with her. Back to the group. It bothered me that Justin didn't have nothing to say. He really is.
Not until the after party, which was weak. He didn't say anything until the after party. Even about Alexis.
Is he defeated or is he weak?
I think he's a little bit of both right now. He looks defeated to me. He look when he talking in the, he just like yeah. He shouldn't have did this, but I mean, damn, did he cheat? He looks so he looks defeated, not only in dealing with this situation, but also in his own marriage.
Well, that's because she's just a terrorist.
That part too. And when they walked in, you could just see the life drain from his face. Like they walked in a room, and not only did Ben look like, I can't believe this shit, but Justin also looked like, God.
But how about this crazy ass? Ooh, I really want to air her out so bad, but she kicking bitches in the teeth, and I ain't got time. I already got a gap. I told you that.
She don't really do that. We all know that.
My thing is this. You sat up and did the same thing you got mad at him about, and he was only talking to one person. Then you're wondering why he don't call you. Oh, well, he not even trying to fight for it. Why would he? Like, to me, I'm like, what is he fighting for? Look at how you talk and you do this thing. She said something. I don't think we addressed this. Maybe it was the episode before, but she was like, I'm going to stay in this marriage so you can see. Like as if she's going to hold him hostage.
Yeah, like the whole time that they have to be there. But not only that.
What a terrible human.
Not only is that terrible, but then the whole aspect of her basically making it seem like she just wants to drag this out. Like she just wants this to be, she wants to hold it over his head and she wants to drag this out, but then she wants him to fight for it. But then when they go to do the episode where they have to share the letters, she comes in for 5 minutes and says, I can't do this because I don't trust you, and then leaves. So what is he supposed to be fighting for?
She is terrible.
What was that?
In the history of, I hope she always catch red lights. Okay?
She will.
I literally do. I hope she's late to everything she got to be to, because I don't think people we see things and people who want to hold you hostage to their feelings. It's something very narcissistic about that, because it makes only their feelings matter. Not once have we asked Ben, why did you feel the need to do that?
She don't even care about none of that.
Did anybody hear that?
She hasn't even let Ben speak. In 3, they started with the scene at the honey for the anniversary, right? They were like back to where they got married. She came in the 1 month, talked the entire time. Ben broke his lips, parted his lips maybe twice to say something. She talked the whole time and then left. That's when she threw the flowers down to be dramatic, like, I'm good. She did all that. Then they met up again. As
if a man in her life has ever given her flowers.
You could tell.
She has not been hugged. It never happened to you.
Then they show up. They show up to do the task of the childhood thing. She sits down, says, I don't trust you, leaves then. The only time they were together where Ben ever got any words in was when they were in front of Dr. Pepper.
And that, almost called her out her name too.
Say what you need.
Didn't facilitate anything either.
No.
The idea that you thought the way for them to get closer was them to write a letter to their younger self.
But this is why
they have real issues.
Yeah,
but
that's what I was saying.
But this is what I was getting. This is what I think you were getting to earlier. When me and Joe, we were seeing a certain counselor, and we were having real issues at the time, like real issues. And I was telling Joe, this is not helping, because it felt like we were going through intensive. Not even an intensive. It felt like we were going through something that was curated for just anybody, you know what I mean, who wants to go to therapy, where we needed an intensive. We needed to sit down and really talk about what our actual issues were, because they kept coming and bubbling back up. And I'm like, that's what I attribute this to. You cannot give these people who are fighting for their lives the same advice that you would give Lindy and Miguel.
Yeah,
you just can't.
It felt very lazy, because at the end of the day,
she just was like, write a letter, yo. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, at the end of the day, all she did was start them early on the task that everybody was going to do that week anyway.
It was weird. It was weird.
Nothing was tailored specifically to them. Nothing was tackling any of their issues. It was just, but this is also why I have issue when they send people in and it's not Pastor Kyle, because out of all of the episodes that I've seen in Married at First Sight, Pastor Kyle has been the one person that I feel like holds people's feet to the fire the most. And second wouldn't even be Dr. Pepper. It would be Dr. Viviana, and she left.
Well, that's because she left after she got the battery in her bag. Let's be for real. The first couple seasons, she was a little meek.
I would still put her second in front of Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper really comes in sometimes to me, and she just goes whatever the way the wind blows, and she does this thing where she plays the middle line.
Well, I think most therapists do, though.
Yeah, but
therapists don't really have a like a real hard.
Everything isn't a dual issue. Some things is we need to tackle this in you. We need to tackle that with you. You know what I'm saying? Everything isn't. Well, you know, if God forbid I walk in the house and you lit the house on fire because you were upset at something that I did, that's not a moment to be like, well, there's two sides here. You know what I mean? It's the whole like the Donald Trump, like it was good people on both sides. Like in every situation, it's not good people on both sides. Like sometimes you genuinely fucked up and let's handle that right now. Like what you're doing, Morgan, is wild.
But I think,
know what I mean? And I think that Dr. Pepper, I think that Pastor Kyle gives more to the, let's stop here, because this is kind of wild. You know what I mean?
So let me say this. I don't necessarily agree, only because going through therapy, they do find a way for, not that things are nuanced. Okay, that's number one. So even when you're going through large things, you might feel like it's catastrophic because this person did this, but it's not that necessarily we want to hold you accountable for what you did, but more that let's recognize the behaviors that got us here.
And that's what I'm saying that Dr. Pepper does not do.
Okay, well,
that's what I mean.
Okay, so that okay,
you see what I'm saying? Like,
because that's
what I mean by Pastor Kyle will stop the bus and get off and be like, let's recognize that this is not it. You know what I mean? Dr. Pepper, too many times, she does not do that.
But I want to go back to something you said. We were watching it, and Joe said he feels like when Elijah Wan was acting a certain way, she knew how to drive things home.
Yeah, it's not the
same. But
same.
now that Morgan is, for all intents and purposes, displaying emotionally abusive tendencies,
it's like, well, let's all hold hands,
right?
Let's just, you know what I'm saying? That's what I mean. Like, and I feel like Pastor Kyle keeps the same energy with everybody, and Dr. Pepper does not, and she has not.
Yeah,
and I don't like that.
I didn't like that either, because it almost felt. One, we don't know what Ben said, which is annoying to me too.
He didn't say anything,
and. Right. But also for this type of behavior, it's not much that Ben could have said for me to be like, he would have really had to say some very terrible things. And I just don't think he did that. But
not only that, talking about going through therapy, I never been in a session where the therapist only cared what Zar's feelings were.
Right.
Not once did I hear.
He make his presence known, y'all.
But I don't. Not in therapy. I let them lead. I don't overtalk you or the therapist, right? But the thing about, I don't. I literally will. I'll wait my chance.
There have been okay.
Not only. Okay. Only in heated arguments. I don't jump in.
I'll give you that.
I don't overtake.
That's true.
I don't.
You know what? That's true.
But you know why? Because out of the people, no one has never just not said, well, how do you feel about this, Joe?
Right. You're just waiting for your...
I know that somebody... Yeah. If we're in front of a professional, they're going to say, hey, Ben, how do you... Not once did I hear her say, well, Ben, how do you feel?
She asked him for a response, and the issue I had with it is that he was taking so much of this... They tried to root it in misogyny. Oh, maybe you...
She went there.
She went there, and I did not like that. Oh, maybe you thought having a wife was... You still have male friends, and a woman, like, she's tertiary in some kind of way. And to me, I felt like y'all picked them. So if y'all were under the impression that this was even going to ever be something they did, why the fuck did you pick them?
But why is it all the maybe and assuming? She assumed from the beginning. Well, I just assumed that Ben was overwhelmed. Ask Ben, was he overwhelmed?
Ask him, was he overwhelmed?
Ask him. Don't even lead the witness with that. Say, how do you feel, Ben? I never heard her say that.
Yeah, without Morgan around. Let's pretend she's not even here. How are you even feeling?
Because you don't need a degree to realize that when you you can sit in front of them for 5 minutes and realize one of them is not being heard, and it's not Morgan.
5 seconds.
Right? You could all them. You don't need to.
Ben be like, that's crazy.
Literally, he said that, right?
That's crazy.
So you can tell that one of them is not being heard, and in that instance, any professional, I would bet 9 times out of 10 would be like, okay, can you tell us how you feel about this? Can you tell us about how you feel about what she's saying? Any professional would do that. And the fact that Dr. Pepper's like initial reaction, Morgan spoke and Dr. Pepper jumped in and said, well, I guess Ben is overwhelmed. And I guess he's just used to being around men and it's like, Ben is, you pulling a Morgan on Ben while in front of a professional.
But I thought it was real. I thought it was really, I just didn't like that. I didn't like that we reduced it to, we literally, it was lazy.
It was so lazy.
We are literally negating the fact that these are human beings that have been thrust into a process where they are married and living in close proximity with somebody they do not the fuck know. And to act like that's not a factor is what I continue to have an issue with. Mm-hmm. That is a large factor. So to believe that this young man is going through something and he wants to have a conversation with somebody else who is also going through it. Thank you, Nate.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And I feel like Nate is the only one who said something when he was on the Meme Tape after show and said the real issue is Alexis.
Straight up. He was the only one who kept it real during filming when he said, what is this whole hostility?
I'm going to tell you who agreed. Sasha. And I'm not even sure. But I know when they went home and talked about it.
Yeah.
She was like,
but that's a little corny. I'm gonna tell you why I'm feeling the type of way about Sasha too, because I know in private she agreed.
I know for a fact.
Public, she didn't say a goddamn thing.
I know for a fact in private she agreed.
She didn't say nothing to Alexis in the apartment when all of the couples showed up, and she didn't say anything to her. I could tell she didn't say it to her privately. You know what I mean? So that's whack to me.
None of them did though, because y'all high key y'all punks. So let's move on. Let's talk about Alexis and Sasha and Nate. I thought they had a really good episode too. But Dr. Pepper came right in and told her, "You are not married to yourself, so slow down, sis." Which you couldn't possibly want to be married to yourself. Like, girl, you're great, really but I think that's so odd.
But in the beginning. What happens in the beginning of every season of Married at First Sight? We're just alike. We're twins. He likes peanut butter. I like peanut butter too. Like this is what everybody does.
That's the barometer.
But this is, I think, for a lot of people, it is. To be honest, I think for a lot of people who are struggling to find that person, they are leading with, "I'm trying to find myself."
Okay, you got bars today, David.
That's it.
I think it's something to that, and I think that. Let's be clear. I think they say you feed them long enough, they start to look like you, right? That's what my mom always says. But
where'd she get that from?
Like adopting babies and stuff. If you feed them long enough, they start to look like you. I think the same thing goes for being in a relationship. You for sure 1000% pick up certain characteristics of your spouse. Yeah. It's how you know. They say like it's like a study that shows like that's another level of love when you start to pick up certain attributes of your spouse or little sayings that they say. Like I love listening to Joe talk and then he say something that I say. And then I be like, but credit your source. Wait a minute, what did I? Oh my God, you just did it on a Facebook post, and I'm like, damn, you ain't even gonna like credit your source. Oh I cannot even remember which one it is. So but yeah, so but even and vice versa, I feel like some parts of like I pick up a lot of things from Joe. So and I think that that's the part that they may be trying to get to. The problem is
what's one of the things you pick up from me?
I don't even know. I think I'm more passionate in my speech because Joe is passionate in his speech.
Oh, I can see that.
I could be super like. First of all,
I can see that.
I'm wildly, and this is not even to like toot my own horn. I am wildly intelligent. I think that I'm pretty, smart, and I know a lot about nothing. And
no, you know a lot about good stuff.
You know what I mean? But so sometimes when I'm in conversation with people. And I vehemently know that it's like, so two things. One, I live very authentically. So when I'm around people and then they speaking from their higher self, I get so agitated by that. Mm-hmm. Because people tell you about who they dream to be and not who they are, but then get mad at you when you like, or then you're the contrarian because you like, that don't make no goddamn sense. Uh-huh. You know what I mean? Because we live in a real world. Yeah. Like, so it's like, I could be a little bit, I'm a Virgo. Y'all know how they do. I can be a little combative, but I think it's grown a little bit since I've been with you. But
yeah. Go ahead.
I don't think it's. I've been trying to work it back though.
What you mean?
Like I try to be conscious of it. Like even I went out with some girlfriends this weekend, and I found myself saying, "That's dumb," I had to be like. But then somebody said something that was an altering view. And then I was like, you know what? Both of those things make sense. Even though in my mind I was thinking, no, the fuck, it don't. Okay? But I'm trying to be conscious.
Because I said that for people who don't really know you because they could take it a certain way.
Yeah.
But I think what I get from you is more of a. I think I got more of a battery in my back as far as like advocating for myself in professional spaces.
Really?
I think I got. Yeah. I think I think every man gets more juice in a battery from their wife.
I agree.
Cause something happened while I was on this tour that we talked about, and it had to do with a member of my band like doing something who was fairly meek and mild. And when I told her about it, she said, "Oh, that was from so and so was his wife." And I said, "Absolutely, I agree. Like this, I don't think he would have did or said what he said or did what he did had it not been he had a conversation with his wife and she put that little juice in his back and he showed up very, very differently."
Yeah.
And I think I do the same thing. Like I think I do that. I'm a lot more prone to saying no these days because of you, or a lot more prone to just being like, just saying what's on my mind without saying it the way my old self would have said it.
Yes.
And I think that's because it's funny because we were out. Her girlfriend is a girlfriend of one of my band members, and
love her.
We were out. She had came to one of the shows on this last tour, and it was one of those days where it was a shit show day. Like everything that could go wrong went wrong, and she would tell me she came back and told her how I was like kind of keeping it cool and saying stuff, and in my mind, even when you tell me that, I was thinking that's because of you too, because the old self would have just aired people out, and I don't know how much constructive information would have just came from me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think you, to your point, you get a lot of different stuff from your spouse in that way. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I can contribute in that manner, if I'm being all the way real. I think that it's really something to that. And I think that these couples want it to be there before it can be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, slow down. You're going to get to a space where you like finishing each other's sentences and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
You're
like
picking up
slow
these good-
down.
And people, and it's funny because everybody, y'all biggest critique of me is that I'm always over talking Joe. But I tell people like, it's not that I'm over talking Joe, it's that I always know where Joe is going.
Yeah,
and in my mind, Joe talks slow.
Yeah, it's funny, y'all, because if y'all met anybody who knows my dad knows that my dad is historically and notoriously a very slow talker.
And I think
Zar thinks that I'm my dad, and I'm like, bro, I'm not my dad. Like, if anything,
but he's not.
But I could tell I be talking sometimes because when my dad is talking to my sister or vice versa, we can look at each other and go like, oh yeah, like we could see the eyes rolling in the back of their head. And when I'm talking, sometimes I could tell she's doing the same thing to me, and I'm like, bro, I'm not my dad. Like, no one has ever mistaken me for my dad. Bro, my dad be like, so you went to the store? Like, I'm not even exaggerating. That's how my dad talked. But if you ask her, I talk like that too. And I'm like, bro, I don't know where you get this from.
And it's just because, to me, Joe really leads with being clear and concise. So he wants you to understand his thoughts and where he's coming from and everything like that. But I be on to the next thing.
Time, bro. And let me tell y'all, it's worse whenever she is in use of the flour. Y'all, it is times.
I'm not even home.
10. Bro, I could be like, can you pass me the keys? And she like, hurry up. I'm like, I'm talking normal. Like, and thank God for it only be people around us that be like, Zar, he's not. Only people around us.
Yo, this is a true story. True story. One time we was over at Eric and Sharon's house. And me and Sharon is my girl. Like, this is my girlfriend. You ever got a girlfriend and you talking mess? And that's the girlfriend you talk mess to, but you at dinner with everybody and you the only ones laughing. Yeah. That's me and Sharon. So me and Sharon sit next to each other. We talking. Joe is in the kitchen, but I had an edible. To me, Joe is so loud. I'm like, oh my God, Joe.
I'm talking like this.
Sharon gonna say, I said, he is so loud. She was like, no, honey. He's
Like, no, you're tripping right
we start cracking up.
now. Like, I'm like, yo, she does this all the time. Like, this is my life. Like, she literally does this all the time.
It tickled me so much. It tickled me so much. But yeah, so I'm saying all that to say they're going to get there. They are going to get there. And I think Sasha and Nate is a really good example of the growing pains of falling in love with somebody. Because I think she thinks like a lot of stuff that they're going through is like could become catastrophic or whatever. But I think that it's just growing pains. I think that they shared so much of one another in this episode, even down to like them going back to their childhood homes. I thought that was huge. I thought like getting to know her extended family. She had like another family that she spent her last year in high school with. I thought that was beautiful. Like, you know what I mean? To see that people love her in that capacity and bringing him into that. I thought that was really, because she doesn't know her father. So for her to have a father figure that she could really lean on and introduce to Nate, I thought was super
And
dope.
I want to appreciate her mama because I think a lot of times some of y'all be getting gassed by y'all relatives and like we watched who was it from last season, Michael and Jasmina, and we commented on how we could just tell that nobody in her life holds her accountable. She'll go to somebody, her mother, her sister, her cousin, and they'll be like, yeah, girl, he was wrong. And it's just, that's it.
But you know what? I think it was worse for her. And this is not to get on her for Jasmine, because we saw people actually tell her to her face, you're combative like this, you do that. And it just was like in one ear and out. It was fascinating.
Yeah, eventually we did see that. But I appreciated, this is going back because we missed, Sasha went to her mom and was complaining to her mom about how Nate is this and Nate is that, and her mom said, it's been a month. That sentence alone made me appreciate her mother in a whole nother level. Because sometimes you only need the people that you love and that you vent to just drop little nuggets to wake you up. Because it could be something that your spouse said to you 1,000 times. Because Nate did. You know what I mean?
He literally
did. Like, he said, yo, like, give me some time. Like, we just met. And then her mom said, it's been a month. And then she said, oh, okay. That's it.
And that's all. And I thought it was really nice. One of my favorite parts of this episode, and it's funny, one of my favorite parts of this episode was when Nate's dad was there and Sasha was like, hey, Dad. And I just thought it was the cutest thing because you could see her she wants the full, circle thing. And I love that. Like, I love that she wants to have all of these experiences and all of these moments. And I just think they're going to be just fine. I just want her to get out of her own way.
And that was a dope scene because the dad, I fucked with that scene so much because if y'all know me, y'all know like I don't talk about my parents because I get emotional about them. And then the dad was doing the same thing, and Nate did the same thing with the dad when he was around Sasha's family. He started talking about the dad, and then he started crying at the table and shit. And so when they was doing it, and when the dad was doing it to Nate outside the house that day, I was like, yeah, those are my people. Like,
yeah, I really loved watching that. So I thought. I'm rooting for them. That's my truth. I'm rooting for them.
Yeah, I think they're going to be all right. If we talking about the catbird seat, I'm talking about Lindy and Miguel and Nate and Sasha and nobody else.
I mean, the rest of you all are losers. And that's all. Losers. Right. And let's talk about another group of losers. Mitch and, what's her name? Krysten. I want to like Krysten, right? And I think you said you was like certain. I want to like Krysten. She don't come off a bit self-righteous.
Oh, 1,000, not a bit, a lot. She comes off as self-producing, self-righteous, a lot of phony. The problem is that Mitch has been such a pain in everybody's ass that it makes you feel bad for Krysten, and it makes her look like Mother Teresa. The way this lady has had the patience of Job with Mitch, it's been insane. I don't know no woman in the world that would have just been like and she kind of let it out at the table when she was just like, and she nailed it. She was like, the whole time I've been like let me do this for Mitch. I want to do this. Like, she kind of like did this whole thing at the table. And if you hadn't watched the show, you would have thought she was just exaggerating. But that's literally how it's been. She's been like contorting herself into a pretzel to accommodate Mitch and all of his weird quirks and all the things he doesn't like. And then when he does, I don't know the woman who want to snap on him at the t-shirt stage.
Well, that would have been an argument, like, and that's for real.
What the fuck is wrong with you, dude?
That's true. But people create their own monsters. The real tea is that had she been more forthright about who she was in the beginning, he would have never gotten to a place where the t-shirt would have been an issue, because he would have known she wasn't that bitch. You know what I mean?
That's true. I think
that what we're not talking enough about, it grew. You contorted yourself into a pretzel because you chose to do that. And I know that sounds so crazy, but the reality is, and there is something too. There's something too that you were trying to accommodate your spouse. Let's be clear. But
to a fault.
You ballooned in a room you shouldn't have. I always say, like, sometimes we feel like we gotta fill the space because somebody else isn't. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm one of those people, my girlfriends will tell you, if I don't want to talk, I will not say I won't say one word. And I find that when I'm around certain girlfriends, they feel like they got a balloon in the room in order just to, where I'm just like, we could just sit in the room and not say anything to each other. Like, I love you enough to be silent. You know what I mean? And I think that she felt like she had to balloon and then got mad at him when he went ding. Like, you got mad because you ballooned, and then he was like, I don't care. I see you doing all this and it means nothing. And I think he's trying.
I think she did herself a disservice. I think because the reason why you do not do these things where you hold everything in is because you will get to a point where you balloon, and it'll most likely be at the wrong time, which it was. And I think that's where you are at a fault, because you keep holding stuff in and you think you helping your marriage, or you think you helping in the situation. You think you're helping keep the peace, but you're just adding yeast to this thing and causing it to grow.
And there you have demands. And not to say, let's be clear, Leos are aloof. So some way they kind of lived in this world where, you know, people exist for them, but not with them, if that makes any sense, as utility. And I think that, you know, she might be experiencing some of that. So I don't want to negate the fact that what she's going through is actually real. You know what I mean? I don't want to negate that. And I think that there is, she has been contorting herself. So let's affirm that as well. I'm just saying, she had a battery in her back when Dr. Pepper came around.
Yeah, she sure did.
And I just was kind of like, girl, bye. You was just that bitch the other day talking about, oh my God, this might be the most incredible marriage ever. So was that your fake self talking or your real self? And I just
that's the part. That's the fake part that I can't get with. Like, she lies. I don't know how else to say.
Now, talk about a liar.
Yeah, she lies. She will sit up in your face and say, Mitch is great. Mitch is perfect. Our relationship is perfect. I couldn't imagine a more perfect man. Like, girl, you don't have to lie.
And then sit up and say, oh, it was weird.
Lies.
But my thing is this.
She lied to her friend in the previous episode. And the friend
knew she was lying.
In the same sitting, the friend was like, so the friend asked her how stuff was going. Of course, she lied. Everything is perfect. And then she asked the girl, so on decision day, like, you know what you're going to do? And then she said, oh, well, not really. And the friend was like, but wait, what? Then she had to walk it back.
Backpedal, pussy pop. And my thing is this. Virgos, earth signs are notorious maskers, which means that most earth signs have a lot of feelings, a lot of thoughts. But we recognize how maybe we're conscious of how we present things. Mm-hmm. So her masking is one thing, but she is telling like full on fiction stories. Okay. Yes. And I'm just like, and that's where I'm like, you can't get mad at, you also have aided and abetted this because you're creating a narrative in your mind and you're trying to convince yourself by convincing everybody else. This is really a thing, but I got a lot of fire in my chart, so I'm like more like a Scorpio. But in real life, that's the shit I be hating what people do. Like, people will sit in your face and say one thing and you know it's another. Like, I do math well, so it's like you'll be like, this is not adding up, and they will be telling you a story You ever experiencing that, y'all? Somebody telling you something and you know it's not adding up?
Yeah.
And you just like, oh, okay, sis, go ahead, keep going. Like, you know what I mean? That's Krysten.
Yeah.
It's not adding up. But truth of the matter is, I have nothing else to say about them. That's the truth.
Yeah, they not gonna make it.
So
we all know that.
Or they are going to make it, and it's just going to be strictly because she doesn't want to be seen as a failure, which sometimes is enough.
But at the end of the day, you fail doing that. I don't believe that sweeping the dirt under the carpet is the remedy of how to fix. But I feel like Mitch is going to. You
didn't feel like in this episode Mitch was trying to like hear her out, and
absolutely.
I felt like he was like listening.
Because there was counseling there. They talked about stuff. They got some stuff out. He can kind of see the error of his ways. Absolutely. I just don't think that. I think she is full of shit.
I think she is too.
And I think she has been done with Mitch. She's been done with Mitch a long time ago. But because the cameras are rolling, she's never going to say that on camera. Like, she's done. She's done.
It could be something to that. Okay, let's talk about these last group of losers. I just find them to be... Alexis is so fascinating to me, y'all. The man takes you back to... Y'all didn't feel like she was judging him when they went back to where he grew up?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Alexis been judging him from day one.
She
was judging his height.
Oh,
you too tall.
You wanted somebody tall. You're
6'2". Literally. Like, you're a big woman, bro.
Bye, Joanna, man. Like, you cannot be out here, like, acting like that and then be... I can't. Because it's so much... The problem I have with Alexis, because I was rooting for her. And I was rooting for them.
All rooting for her.
I was rooting for them. And... Libras are... Alexis is fascinating. You sat in there and I felt like she judged him at every turn when he took her to where he grew up and he was telling about how he came up and everything like that. I didn't feel like it was a genuine bone in her body. I felt like even for him to say like, yeah, I used to fly kites. If he was a 30-something-year-old man right now and he flew kites, that wouldn't bother me in the least.
Yeah, like
how is this an issue for you?
Everything. Like, oh, that's weird. You flew.
Like, okay, you was flying kites at 23. What was you doing?
Just say you don't like them. Just say you don't like. Because if you was out there with whoever, tickles your fancy, and they told you he flew kites, you would be like, oh, that's so cute. Just say you don't like them.
You literally draw vaginas.
Yeah.
Like, quite literally. And this man can't fly a kite?
Yeah. On the beach, like. It's not that many things to do on the beach, bro.
But in a playground, like anywhere, like if the man feel like this is something that kind of takes his mind off things or whatever the case is, it's therapeutic, whatever. If this was something that he felt like he had to do in a time that he needed more support, how could you make that like a thing to be judged?
Everything is a thing to be judged with Justin. Just say you don't like him.
Quite literally, I don't give a damn if Justin said, yeah, I paint vaginas too. She would find a way to make it like, oh, you ain't like, it would be a thing. And it's so cringy to watch.
Because at the end of the day, all you're saying is in a nasty way is he's not your type, which we get it. Like you've said it in so many different ways since the very first episode. You know what I mean? I would have left if this would have happened. I'd have been going. She say that every episode too. I'd have been gone. You know what I mean?
Girl.
So we get it. She's not your type, but he didn't pick you either. Y'all got paired by a group of people who are not even present. So,
how about that?
So the idea that it's constantly like everything is beneath you, it's really like off-putting, and I'm really tired of it. Like at first it was like, okay, this is your personality, like whatever. But now it's just like, what are you trying to prove? Go home then.
Go home.
Like we get it, he's sensitive. We get it, he tall, he too tall. All this other stuff.
But you
like,
could tell it's deflating him.
Yeah, because he's not even the same. He don't even got the same energy that he had when he first started this joint. Just the same optimism. Like you could just tell that he was a certain way, and he doesn't have that anymore.
And I don't give a damn what nobody say. The fact that she went back and told Morgan that mess, and I knew
it was weak. It was trash.
It was trash because you know what Justin said? I don't think he said anything malicious. Justin, the person that he was talking to, said, I don't think what he said was malicious.
Yeah.
He just is going through, you know what I mean? And the fact that you would take that back and somebody's being vulnerable, it just says so much about your personality. And it's like, I want to give her the benefit, not even give her the benefit of the doubt, but I want to be excited for them.
It's nothing to be excited about to me. Justin is deflated. You done deflated somebody else's whole entire marriage.
And you could tell, don't think nothing about it.
Don't think nothing. Well, she finally in the after party, I think it was the last after party because this one was all men, right?
Right.
So the after party of the episode that we missed with y'all, she finally said, "Oh, I know I was wrong with Dad. Not, I should have probably, not said anything." But it took all of that for you to even get to that point. And then finally, Justin says in the after party, like that was fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, I said something to you, and you threw a bomb at somebody else's whole situation. And now I lost a friend. He said this too. I lost a friend because Ben doesn't talk to me at all. No. So now you screwed up 2 relationships. You fucked up 2, not 1, but 2 relationships.
Serious?
Yeah, it's messed up. Especially because
they had a real good relationship when they first.
And these are, like you said, this is one of the few people that I can talk to who really understands what I'm going through because they're going through the same thing. So imagine now you made me lose that person and you caused them a bigger rift in another relationship that was already teetering.
But imagine the energy you get from that, y'all. I'm
messy.
big on
It's
karmic.
messy.
I don't even like to use the word karmic, but I'm big on energy. And it is so much transferred. You provide people with these negative thoughts and feelings and this and that. What do you expect to get back? What do you expect to get back?
It was just so messy.
I tell people this all the time. You could, and y'all gonna think this, y'all gonna have whatever y'all got to say, whatever the case may be. Social media has ruined the idea of marriage.
Oh, that's a fact.
And
relationships, before we even get to marriage, both. Everything is reduced to a TikTok or YouTube wedding or whatever. But none of us understand the sanctity of marriage, and I do not understand it. I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about, they had a friend, tell them something about their ex-spouse. And I asked her straight up, how does that benefit you, knowing this information about your ex? It doesn't.
You already divorced. So explain to me how it benefits you.
It doesn't.
Right? So me telling you this information did nothing but transfer negative energy to you. Mm-hmm. That is quite literally it. I tell people all the time, Joseph is my husband. I am Joseph's wife. I don't occupy that space for anybody else, and vice versa.
Right.
So the idea that you think you could ever talk to me about my spouse, his feelings, his thoughts, his whatever, or whatever we got going on, is you overstepping your bounds. You don't be a line stepper over here.
Yeah.
To me, it is so crazy how y'all don't understand that there is something very sacred about this kind of companionship. Whether you're in a long-term relationship and you're not married, whether you have children with someone, whatever the case may be, your social media has people thinking that they are entitled to other people's lives. And the reality is you need to mind your motherfucking business, because you will find that you're happier if you was less worried about what I had going the fuck on.
But I think I would say that the miserable status of your own situation is why you're so preoccupied with somebody else's.
And it's not up for debate.
You can't be happy in your own situation and be worried about what's happening over there.
It's not up for debate.
Alexis, you can't be.
It's not up for debate. And all you did was show your hand.
Yeah.
We get it. You're miserable. And you're going to do anything company. In your...
I say that all the time. It's so real. It's a cliche saying, but it is one of the truest sayings. The older you get, the more you realize miserable motherfuckers love some companionship.
It's crazy. So I'm saying all that to say she's the villain. That is all. We found our Voldemort.
And shout out to Nate Dogg, the cast gangster, for keeping it real.
Don't call him a gangster. I don't like that, because he a black man. We don't need to. I don't like to align.
I'm a black man too. It was just a joke.
Touche.
Yeah,
I just don't want to. We got. You know what I mean.
I know what you mean, but I'm just joking.
I know you are. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Nate Dogg is his nickname for me. And shout out to Nate Dogg for keeping it real.
He kept it 100.
He was the only one who kept it real both both in the after party and because people get on the after party and act so fake, Alexis.
But how about Alexis telling the people that Justin alluding, not telling them?
Oh, she did that too. That was another episode, wasn't it?
She alluded to the fact that he
couldn't get it up. That's what she basically said.
Are you crazy?
That's messed up. We was rooting for you, Tyra style, man. You was the brownest girl in the thing. I was rooting for you from day one because everybody knows my bias. And you was the brown girl. Biased, right? I am. I thought you was cute. You was brown. And then you start showing your ass like this, and I'm disappointed, Tyra style. This is whack. And I know whack.
Every single man who has ever proposed to you is thinking I dodged a bullet.
But now we see. I dodged a bullet. Exactly what happened.
Because this shows up in different ways in different situations. It's almost nasty.
It is. And it shows up in different ways. And it's like, man, now we see. You telling on yourself.
And I be trying not to say super mean things, so I really do apologize if some of this came off as really judgmental and nasty. But some of this stuff is really like, y'all gotta know that this is not okay. Like, it's not okay to operate like that. And even to sit up there and sit, and whether or not you're dealing with this man or not, certain things just shouldn't be said. You was the one tongue kissing him down. Now he got issues.
But she was always outing him, which should have showed us her personality. Every chance she get.
He's celibate.
You know he do this. You know he do that. You know his dick is little. Like, it's like, you're weak. You're so whack. But that's
a self-esteem thing. That's a self-esteem thing.
That's whack.
I don't like that. So
that's whack, and I'm glad Nate Dogg called you a snitch, because he should have called you a snitch. And
he probably should have used another adjective.
No, call her a snitch, because that's what she is.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that's a good adjective. I'm just saying
because you snitched on your own husband, and you outed him, and you messed up his situation. You messed up somebody else's situation.
He said Ben don't even talk to him no more.
He said they don't even. He said they used to be. They was the tightest out of everybody in the crew, and they don't even talk no more. Because we know how shook Ben is. Ben don't know what to do with he doesn't know what to do with his hands at this point.
He don't like confrontation.
And he doesn't like confrontation. So his natural reaction, that makes sense, is to shrink.
Yeah.
So now, and I'm sure Ben is like, damn, he don't have nobody to talk to now. That was probably his only release, was talking to Justin and somebody who could really understand him. And
that's
because
so
everybody,
sad.
you don't get a lot of friends who you feel like you can go tell stuff to and it won't be judged. It won't be met with judgment.
How about that? Especially when you married. You really talk to the same person the whole damn time. Yep.
So imagine losing that. That's crazy. It's just sad that it was you, Alexis. I'm disappointed in you. I'm
disappointed.
That was whack. That was so whack.
So yeah, I'm sorry we didn't end on a lighter note, but we got to go. We got to go watch our Eagles play. Yeah. If you have not already, let's stay on subscribe to this channel. I am Intisar. This is my beautiful husband Joe, and we'll see you mother jumpers later. Bye.